So I want to point out, I know TWA doesn't go into much grammatical explanations, but I want you to notice that in the snapshot, there's a really clear example of a rhetorical question. In talking about the contrast between hearing and deaf folks, or English users and ASL users. In English, we'll tend to use a title for something, a name for something, which doesn't often explain what it is or what it looks like or anything. Sunny side up eggs. What? Right? It does. If you don't know what it is, you're not going to know what it is. Or over easy. Unless you know what it means, that name doesn't help. In ASL, it's much more visual, obviously. We would tend to sign something that illustrates what either the dish looks like, what the eggs look like, or how they're made. In the video, she says what it looks like, but we often, like, this is not what it looks like, right? It's how it's made. So I want to add to that. So she uses a rhetorical question where she asks the question and she plans on answering it. If you notice, her eyebrows go up. So it's not a typical WH question. She's setting up a new topic here. You don't want to know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about this. And then she answers it for herself. So two things. She uses contrastive structure to set up hearing people and deaf people. Hearing people and deaf people. And then she asks that rhetorical question and she signs 4-4. 4-4. It's a really quick, it actually even, depending on the video, it may be 1, but it means 4-4, or what was that for, or for what purpose? For what purpose is probably the best way. It means why. And in some of the Romance languages, you will see combinations of for what, for who, porque, pourquoi, and we do the same thing basically in ASL where we do 4-4. Why is a generic question? Why is this happening? Why did that? Why are you crying? All those things. Why is that here? 4-4 is very specific to for what purpose. If you went into your advisor and said, I want to take this course next year, and they said, why would you want to do that? 4-4. For what purpose? If you said, I'm going to quit school, they'd say, why? Why do you want to leave school? Because there's not a goal necessarily in doing that, right? So they're asking what is this in a response to, as opposed to what is the objective here. In general, why is always the right answer. You can always use why. I would even recommend don't worry about using 4-4. Eventually you'll get to the point where it'll make sense and why works all the time. But if you want to practice with it, 4-4 is for what purpose? What is the intention behind it? As opposed to like, why are you upset? Why are you throwing things? Why are you throwing things? Or what are you throwing things for? That makes sense? Anyway, so she uses a very clear thing. She says, why do we do that? Why do hearing people use titles to describe how the eggs are cooked? And then she says that deaf people do it differently. So that's the one thing I will say. The rationale at the beginning uses restaurant versus restaurant. This is a more recent change. I think it's a response to people trying to get rid of the initialization, the letters. I haven't seen it out in the wild. I've only ever seen restaurant. So cafeteria, restaurant, right? Okay, so I'm going to go through all the vocab. I'll do that separate video, again, to save a little bit of time. Fast food is not necessarily in this vocab, but remember fast food or fast food. Okay, that was from, I think, Unit 4, so last semester. Now, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We the sign you always see in the textbook or in the videos is morning eat or eat morning. Lunch is noon eat or eat noon or noon. Or dinner is night eat or eat night. If in conversation the time has already been established, you don't have to repeat it. Or, as we'll see in the conversation starter videos, if you're asking about which of these meal times is your favorite, you don't have to keep going morning, eat, noon, eat, night, eat, which your favorite. You don't need to repeat that. You can say, which your favorite, eat morning, noon, boom, right? If you watch their conversation starter video, it's probably the most awkward one I've seen in all of TWA ASL because it's so unnatural to ask the question that way. And they're only using it to demonstrate. I'll talk more about it when I do the assignment advice. But for right now, either morning eat or eat morning, it doesn't matter. With two signs, the order often doesn't matter. Again, I'll go through all of the vocab. One thing to think about is toast is you're going to cook both sides of the bread, right? We're Americans, we toast both sides. We're not like the Brits who toast only one. Muffins and biscuits, we tend to fingerspell. The vocab, the what's the sign shows this. This is often also cupcake. So I find I do English muffin or biscuits or I'll show this biscuit. So like a bready thing, biscuit, which again is different than British because biscuits are cookies. Biscuits is cookies. Ignore me. Again, muffins. French toast. Now we know toast, right? So just add French toast. Do not mention French toast casserole. It is an abomination. End of discussion. Muffins, bagels. Now, I've also seen bagels with the same sign we used for donuts. Bagels. I think it's more of a regionalism, which is more popular. Fingerspelling is always the safe one, and I'm going to pause for just a second. You may not notice. Okay. Hopefully that was just a blip for you. I'm just going to go through and add asterisks for the things that get fingerspelled. I think I did it with the actual the lists at the end of the slideshow, but I just want to add them here too so they make sense. Pancakes have a sign. You flip the pancake, right? Pancake. I've also seen it fingerspelled, but they're showing this, so we'll just stick with that. Oatmeal. I have never seen that as oatmeal. I guess because you roll them or grind them, whatever. Grits. Grits, fingerspell. Hot cereal. There's a bunch of different signs if you look at the what's the sign for cereals. This doesn't look like hot cereal, doesn't it? Or maybe it's oatmeal. Kind of looks like a granola. Anyway, the sign that I learned and you see most used in the Ohio, New York area is cereal. Here's the bowl. Here's the spoon. Cereal. A couple of different ones. Look at the what's the sign for the other options. Some of them make sense. Some of them make no sense whatsoever. This one, the way I picture it is, it's a dry thing you put in your mouth, right? So this is the sign for dry. I'm dry. I'm thirsty, right? There are other ones. Cereal. There's like cereal. There's some other ones I've never seen and they don't make sense to me. But again, it's probably a regional sign and makes sense. So just be sort of familiar with them. The one you'll see most in Ohio is cereal. Hash brown. That's another one that hash gets fingerspelled. Now, bacon, two fingers, two H's or two U's, bacon, right? As opposed to lasagna, which we'll see later, which is the full hand, two B's. Sausage, and different ways to cook eggs. Now, this is the snapshot that they will talk about. So no need for me to go over the vocab until I do the vocab. Scrambled, hard-boiled, poached. Again, hard-boiled, eggs and then boiling water. And then poached, you just fingerspell. Boom. And it shows either poached eggs or poached eggs. So you might fingerspell both in this one. So again, I'm just putting that so you can see. Omelette also is fingerspelled. Eggs over easy. So remember, these are all, as it said in the snapshot, what does it look like? So boom, boom, or boom, boom, right? Sunny side up. Here's the yolk resting on top, uncooked, versus over easy, eggs, cook both sides. Appetizers and sides. We know for eat is like this, or eat, right? Snacks was this, like you grab a handful of chips and shove them in your mouth, or popcorn, right? Appetizers or snacks, finger foods. So that. I've seen side dishes, like, so here's the entree, boom. So here on the side, or with this. Okay. Egg roll, and of course, there are so many of these. Sushi. Pot stickers also, sometimes you can fingerspell, or pot stickers, right? They're just little, like the little gyoza, the little, that's the shape of them. Sushi. Again, I don't want to get into all the vocab, because then this ends up being long and then it gets repetitive. Queso, you're going to fingerspell. And actually this one, it's cheese dip, right? So you're going to sign queso, cheese dip, or cheese, queso dip. Right? Dip. Hummus and pita, we also fingerspelled, or take a look back in, I think it was earlier in Unit 7 when we signed pita. Look it up and what's the sign. Bread is one. Tortilla. Pita, most of the time I've just seen it fingerspelled. Nachos, also fingerspelled. Why bother with this slide at all, right? Well, that's handy. There we go. Okay. Soup. Now, they show it in one of the videos, soup, in the, what's the sign for pho? P-H-O. So you fingerspell pho. And then you can add soup to clarify that that's what you're talking about. But then they don't show this in like the vocab and stuff like that for soup. So soup, 2 fingers, and here's the bowl, like we did with cereal. Wonton, you're going to fingerspell. Boosh. Buffalo wings. I don't know why it's on the same slide as this, but buffalo, take the Y, wings, or hot wings, right? Spicy wings. Meat, and you'll see they sign meat. It depends on the people. Some people will hold it up here. Either way, whatever feels comfortable. And index finger or middle finger, I've seen both. Meat. And then balls, just fingerspell. Welcome to 3rd grade. I've also seen this. Balls, right? Little globes of meat. French fries. Onion, and then you fingerspell rings. Boom. And I am going to put an asterisk after, I'm going to put a dash in there just because. So we know that, you can fingerspell the second word. Entrees. Food, boom, it's your main dish. Okay? So plate. Salad. Now meatloaf, you can fingerspell loaf, or you can do like it's meat cake. It's kind of actually what the sign is. Taco and sandwich are basically the same signs. Right? So taco. So here's the shell, and I put the stuff in it, right? If I bring this up to my mouth and hold the sandwich here, here is the bread. Here's the stuff inside. And of course, there we go. You'll also see sandwich where it's just down in front of you. Sandwich, it goes up. Most of the time I've just done it this way. Or sandwich. It also shows this for sandwich. I have never seen this sign for sandwich, so I don't know if it's a regional thing, but I guess it's 2 pieces of bread with whatever's in between. Grilled cheese, the grill, or the grilled, see either way, is fingerspelled. Grill, cheese, grilled cheese. Kind of like iced tea and iced tea. Sometimes you don't add in the ed, we're adding the d. Hamburger, right? Boom, boom, and you like squish the patty, right? Hamburger. Boo, boo, boo. Pizza. Now we already know there are a couple signs for pizza, but you can also fingerspell. We've done this one before. Steak, and usually meat, and you can usually talk about how thick it is, right? How big, how thick. Fish and chips. The easiest way, fish and French fries. What's the sign shows fish and chips? I have never seen this used for chips. But again, it may be because I'm in the Northeast, and on the West Coast or on the Gulf Coast, it might be different. Spaghetti. This is the general sign for all pasta, but it's specifically signed for spaghetti. Chicken, and then you stuff it, right? Stuffed chicken. And then we saw lasagna before, where it's just this hand, the B hands or the flat hands. And then we discuss things in class. We've already been doing that. So the vocab review. I'm going to record a separate video for this. We'll go through, and I've tried to mark all the ones with, oops, I forgot this one. All the ones with asterisks, for the ones that are fingerspelled or it's one of the alternatives. And then we'll give it assignment advice, and we'll go through the conversation starters. For the most part, they're getting easier because now we have so much more vocab under our belts. There are very few of these that are unclear. The first one has has one question. The deafblind one, 1.6, is a lot more difficult because when you're signing with a deafblind person, you're doing 2 simultaneous things, right? It's the same with both hands. So it's really tough to see, well, what's the dominant hand, what's the passive hand. So just understand that there's a slight difference in there. So I'll give some advice on how to approach that one. Then with the other ones, I will recommend that you go through and look at all the vocab first to know what you're picking from, rather than going into it cold. So there are worksheet 1, worksheet 2. Worksheet 2 has 3 different questions, or 3 different questions, segments. So you'll want to approach each of them separately. So that is the lecture for 7.4.